Hail Internet, it's Paul, it's Matt, the Dork Lords. Today we're talking about the third episode of the HBO series Dune Prophecy, episode entitled Sisterhood Above All. We open with a short scene showing what happened after Valia was dismissed from the palace by Desmond. When asked how she's going to keep her influence with the houses now that the Emperor has removed her, she responds, "This is not the first time an adversary has sought to remove me. Like the others, this soldier will learn." I'm guessing one of those past adversaries she's speaking of is Dorothea. We then cut immediately to a flashback. Young Valia on Lenkavale. It's the homeworld in exile of House Harkonnen. If Arrakis is the Tatooine of Dune, Lenkavale would be the Hoth of Dune. The Harkonnens are whalers. Valia is eternally outraged at her lot in life thanks to Vorian Atreides. She convinces her older brother Griffin to track down Vorian. Cut to Griffin's funeral. The implication being that Vorian had him killed. The family blames Valia with admittedly some justification, perhaps, and she is sent to train with the Sisterhood. We end with adult Valia visiting her now ancient uncle, though they obviously still hate each other. We don't know what becomes of that meeting yet, probably next episode, but she does say sacrifices must be made. So is the sacrifice that she has to put aside her ego to ask her uncle for help with the Emperor? Or is she just going to kill him to elevate young Harrow Harkonnen to the throne? I don't know how that all works, but anyway, we will see how that works out. We cut to Tula back at the Sisterhood, pretending to cut off Lila's life support, basically letting everyone say their goodbyes. Yeah. Lila's friend Jen openly accuses Tula of tricking Lila into performing the agony with false promises about meeting her mother. Tula then secretly takes Lila's body into the tunnels where she hooks Lila up to an obviously forbidden AI machine, the same one that Raquella used to run her selective breeding program. All that said, Paul.
Yes?
What'd you think of episode 3?
I liked it.
Okay.
There were some parts of it that some leaps they made that I wasn't necessarily thinking that they made the full case for.
Okay. Are we talking
Tula
here? Yeah.
Tula, saying, "Hey, no, you have to accept what happened," and then next thing you know, she's killing a dude, killing a whole bunch of people.
Well, killing. She did mass murder.
Yeah. So that's it. I mean, maybe that's part of the story in seeing how she came to that.
I guess there was like the little shock revelation that somehow she was as affected by Griffin's death as Valia was, maybe, or I don't know. I hear you though.
So maybe we'll get more flashbacks and we'll see that Tula really had a tough time after Valia left, decided that she needed to devote herself. Otherwise, maybe there was a scene where Valia was like, "Go seduce,"
right,
and then kill all of them, and then she's like, "Okay, I better go."
Well, yeah. I mean, I would assume. Well, I'm not gonna make an assumption that it's not the voice, I guess, but just say. Whether it's the voice or not, I do feel like you can make the case that it's Valia's force of will that seems to make Tula do this, right? One of the first things Tula does is communicate with Valia. All right, I did it! And then Valia has to go, return to talk with her about it and confirm it got done. So it seems like it's a Valia pushed scenario. Like, so Tula didn't necessarily come up with the idea herself. Like, hey, what if I seduce an Atreides and then kill his family? Oh, that's a great idea. Go do it. I almost feel like that came from Valia, perhaps. Anyway. But.
Yeah, I mean, because she says, her message after she's finished the job, is not having to explain a lot to Valia. So, clearly she was aware of it before it happened.
So she murders poisons basically all these Atreides. I like the fact that they dropped the Atreides late. You weren't sure that these were Atreides, although they're hunting bull, and we know that the bull is like the symbol of the House Atreides. But they did save the whole fact that this is Ori Atreides for kind of an end beat. But she lets this young Albert escape. Who Albert, I believe, is being played by the same actor who was in House of the Dragon. I think he played little Oscar Tully. Considering we also have the guy who played King Baratheon is the uncle Harkonnen. Anyway, so she lets young Albert escape. This is probably this whole thing where she murdered a bunch of people is probably what she was referring to back in episode 2 when she said that she's no stranger to making hard choices or something.
Okay, sure.
She does seem to genuinely care for Ori Atreides.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he puts this giant wrench in the works by proposing on the same night that she's just killed everyone in the camp. She walks past all these people that are gonna die in the next couple hours, and then she gets into camp and she gets into the tent to be like, okay, now I gotta find a way to kill this guy. And he's like, hey, will you marry me?
Because he's like, why don't you join their family? Put on some paint, that'd look really good on you.
Right, she says it. You're actually right. Hey, your family's waiting for you. Go die. Go kill yourself. And he's like, you know what? That's for later. Anyway, in the meantime, I thought maybe... She's like, couldn't you have done this yesterday? Oh, my God. That scene was effective. I bought it. Although, as you say, it's a shock that Tula is that homicidal, I guess. Did we know that about her? I guess we do now. They do have sex, and I know I've already wondered aloud whether Inez got pregnant with Kieran Atreides the night that they had together back in episode 1. I'm now wondering whether Tula got pregnant with Ori Atreides. I'll throw this out there. Again, I have no reason to think this, but I'm just like, okay, Harrow Harkonnen, remember that's the guy that's, right? So he calls Tula his aunt. He says Aunt Tula to Valia in this episode. So on a face value, okay, they're just his two aunts.
Sure.
But when we see this family, back in the flashback, sitting around the table in Lankavale, it's Griffin, Valia, and Tula.
Right.
Like, Griffin dies shortly thereafter.
Yes.
If not, if it's not Tula, and I assume it's not Valia, that who is the actual mother of this guy? Anyway, I'm just saying, like, the number of suspects seems like, now maybe it's just like distant cousin who had a kid, and I just call you my aunt.
I don't know.
But I'm just saying, narratively, it would be interesting if secretly Tula did get pregnant. It's an Atreides kid. She's like, oh my God, this is the worst. I mean, I just killed off all this guy's family. So, they go to some kind of lengths to hide the fact that she's given birth to a half Atreides. And then, anyway, so I don't know. Maybe that could be like a little plot element to drop that Tula is actually Harrow Harkonnen's mom, but anyway, that's
they're not establishing a lot of dramatic weight to it if that's the case.
Right.
It's like, okay, it's Valia who we see go to them, and so she's established a relationship with Leela, but we don't see any appreciable scenes between the two of
I do like how no one in the Harkonnen family, with the exception, as we find out in this episode, of Tula, nobody in the Harkonnen family seems to share Valia's level of outrage. Like, they don't like the Atreides, but it seems like everyone else at that table in the flashback is like, let's just get on with our lives.
Well,
hey, Griffin. Well, Griffin, it's like, hey, Griffin's going to get us a new trade deal. That's great. And then, he listens to Valia because Valia saved his life using the voice back in the day.
Yeah.
But, Valia's mother, not a fan of her daughter.
Right.
When Griffin goes to follow her, he's like, she's a wolf. You'll die. Basically calls it out.
Right.
Valia uses the voice on her mom and almost makes her slit her own throat.
Yeah.
So it's like her anger isn't, her need for revenge isn't family based.
Yeah.
Which was what it seemingly, kind of is for Tula. Maybe it's more personal. Like, how dare you consign me to a life of eating whale blubber on Hoth? I deserve better. It's a very, I don't know, it feels like almost like a narcissistic me thing. The family doesn't like her. She doesn't like the family for the most part. So I'm like, where is this family outrage coming from her side of things? Who other than yourself are you like really standing up for? She seems like a bad person. How about that?
Okay. I grant you that she's a bad person. Clearly she has an affection for Tula and Griffin. Griffin is the one who backs, says that he agrees with her. He says that he agrees that it's a terrible thing that's happened to the family. I think they definitely want the audience to see that she does care about those two people.
Fair enough.
The adults crap, on what she said.
It's interesting, too, how they don't show Griffin die. Well, they didn't have to. I'm not saying they should, but It's interesting that they don't.
They just wanted that smash cut so bad.
Yeah, they did. Which is great. But that does also leave the possibility that that's not how he died. I don't know. Do they know exactly how he died? Did Vorian kill him? Or did it oops, I slipped and a whale bit me? Or I don't know, whatever. It would be interesting if they blamed the Atreides for that as well, even though it had nothing to do with the Atreides. Anyway,
I guess. I feel like the revelation maybe that that death is more innocent. I don't know that it brings a lot dramatically.
Just like another link in the chain.
It's like
Atreides.
Yeah, that would be a surprise, I guess, if they did that. It just more drama in the past. They've built a lot of drama around, Desmond and who that is. So, having the Atreides be not as much of an enemy to the Harkonnens, I don't know that.
It just would be, there would be a humorous element to it, which is not what this show's about. But just the fact that you cut to, Vorian Atreides, and, none of this even has entered his mind. It's all just, washing off him. Oh, yeah, I don't know who you're talking about. Who's this guy? Griffin? I never met him. I don't. Anyway, I think we do get from the written source material, the way that history is being viewed, is that from a certain point of view, the Harkonnens were in fact cowards or traitors, if you could call it, in this battle versus the machines, because what ended up happening was the machines took human hostages, and so there came a moment where it was like, oh, if we attack the machines, we're going to be killing humans,
right? And
so Vorian Atreides was like, well, we got to do what we got to do to kill the machines, and it was the Harkonnens who were like, hey, we shouldn't kill the humans, and basically turned against that plan, and so as a result, the machines ended up surviving in the war longer.
So you're saying they were wrong not to kill the humans?
No, I'm saying it was a war, and then they ended up winning the war. But in winning the war, there were human casualties. You've got the sense that the Harkonnens were trying to avoid those particular casualties. So to say that they were cowards is wrong. But on the other hand, they did not aid in the victory over the machines. Whichever side of the fence you want to be on, you could have fuel for your cause, I guess.
Sure.
It's not a black and white thing of there was a Snidely Whiplash on one side and a Dudley Do-Right on the other. I think Valia is shading it in a very pro-Harkonnen light. It would just be interesting if at some point, somebody that she respects, I guess that would be Tula, I don't know, just as actually this point, the Atreides actually weren't all that wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel as if Valia doesn't have an appreciation for. She hasn't really stated it, I guess. It just it seems that it makes sense to me that it's not fair that he was punished for being concerned about that. That's not cowardly, and so that makes it wrong that they had to suffer from that. So, I mean, to me, that's looking back so much and not looking forward,
Gotcha. Yep.
It's like, what is she going to do going forward that's going to cause, and she's going to break a lot of rules and do a lot of terrible things.
And at this point, it's too late for her to... It would be very weird if suddenly she decided, you know what, I was wrong. Like, no, she's too far down that...
and it wouldn't matter to anybody that, that mattered, really. They like, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. It's like, I mean, one thing that was interesting to me about this whole thing is that we saw the machine that was involved.
Right.
It's supposed to be the genetic machine.
We know now, at least partially, why Raquella looked to replace her own kin, Dorothea, as the next Mother Superior, right? The obvious choice would have been, hey, Dorothea is going to be the next Mother Superior.
Yeah.
But Dorothea was, as we saw several scenes, she's devoutly against AI technology. She's reading from the book to the acolytes about, and the one thing you want to make sure, thinking machine's bad. So I don't think she would have ever accepted the use of the giant machine in the basement. So Raquel's looking for someone else, and then Valia's skill with the voice makes her an appealing candidate, but also her willingness to, look past the whole AI is bad thing. So, just the fact that that's been there and has been a somewhat of a kept secret,
right?
That's an interesting little plot point. And now we have another way to interpret the prophecy: born twice, once in blood, once in spice, revenant full of skulls. Is it Desmond? Is it Paul Atreides? Or now is it Lila? The AI is using spice to revive her.
Right.
And she's going to have a bunch of wraiths of her ancestors swimming in her head. So, it seems actually more likely, in fact, that in an effort to avoid this prophecy, they brought about the thing that's going to cause the prophecy. This kind of undead version of Lila. That's probably coming up maybe even in the next episode.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about this show, and it's somebody who had read the books, and who was not that fond of the Brian authored books. Partly because I think it that provided more of the detail about these, about the battle between the the AI and the humans, and how the person that I was speaking to felt that the focus was different in Frank's books, because it was more about, from his perspective, about the importance of having humanity, basically, and prizing that above using all this technology robs you of your humanity. And he felt that the earlier books, earlier in chronology but later in being written,
right,
that it's sort of like Terminator knockoff. The thing that sticks out to me is it's just about technology and all that, and so it's just interesting to me that they're employing this technology, and technology is bad, and I'm hoping that it's it's like everybody who wants to use it for bad things talks about how it's a tool.
Yep.
So it's like, we need this tool so we can control the strings of power, and the other guy who I guess he's letting his kid play with a toy or whatever, but
it's funny, I was thinking to myself, because in the beginning, like episode 1 or so, it was like, we secretly had this, I think they said it was an index, the genetic index for our selective breeding program. And then that's what this thing is monitoring or controlling. I mean, in my mind, I was like an Excel chart. I don't know, like do they need this giant AI to run a Word doc? All right, it's just like a little. What two names go together? There it is. Okay, thanks, giant AI. I assume it does more than that.
Yeah, well, I mean, apparently, if I understand what some people are saying, it's actually looking at all these people and deciding who should be with whom. So it's like a Tinder, I guess.
Yeah, right.
Picking the people who are going to be in charge, basically.
It's the match game.
Yeah, so you want to choose the right people, and that's apparently what it's doing. Although the other thing is you can slip somebody into it and it'll inject them with spice. So
yeah, exactly. Did it have spice laying around?
Yeah.
Does it have like every chemical you might need? It's like, oh, I got that.
Yeah. Does it run on spice? What the heck?
Okay, I will mention this too. Something that it's a trope that comes about a lot of times in different movies.
Sure.
Things like mob movies a lot of times, stuff like
sure.
that. Okay, so in this case, it's Valia. She's refusing to take the oath.
Yes.
And so she just stands out in the rain.
Yeah.
And she's the last person there. Everyone else has said, yep, I accept the oath. And she's not doing it. And the time has passed. And so Raquel comes out into the rain.
Yes.
Because there's this student who's just refusing to accept the thing you have to accept if you're going to become a sister. And then as she comes out there, Valia turns around and is like, stop. And it's like, oh my God, you just literally assaulted me with your voice.
Yeah.
And instead of like, this person's a threat and a danger, she's like, you know what? I like your guts. It's that kind of like, she is literally not promised that she's going to do what you say. She hasn't taken the oath. She literally attacked you with this really powerful skill. And you're like, yeah, I think I can harness it. You're a loose cannon, but I like you. Come on in.
Yeah, like, clearly we need somebody who can be ruthless and who's going to ignore all our teachings. I think you can do that. Yeah, you're reminding me. That's another thing that I was not especially pleased with, because it's like, this is something? Come on, say it. Like, or stay in the rain. It's like, and she says, oh, this is not a contest of wills or whatever. I don't want to engage in that. You're done. And so she walks away. And so it's like, God, that seems stupid. It's like, what is this? You must do the ritual, this dumbass ritual where you say, oh yeah, sisterhood above everything. And oh my God! So yeah, that I wasn't in love with that. I was.
I mean, if you think about the ritual itself, I mean, maybe the difficult part of the ritual is because they are truth sayers. Maybe they're monitoring whether you're speaking the truth. Because otherwise, why wouldn't you just say, yeah, no, I agree. Can I leave now? Got it. Okay, thanks.
Or like, so we'll assume nope. I'm done. See ya. Go inside. Yeah, why is she staying outside? What is that going to accomplish? It's like, oh, you know what? We've changed the bylaws now. You can say, not say, but
because she never says it.
No,
she never makes the oath.
No, yeah. So why is she staying out there? And she doesn't
just
seem
say
like
no.
It's sort of saying, do you want to commit? And she does it again. She's
That's
like,
a great point.
Put the drop in your eye. Put the drop in your eye. No, I'm not going to do it. Okay, fine. But now I have a hard line. You can't come back unless you do it. So if you don't say the vow, that's fine. Come back inside. But if you don't put this in your eye, out.
It's that whole thing of like, you're so bad, you're good. I think you're going to work out just fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I did like that when Valia refuses the first time to put to go through the agony, Dorothea calls her a coward.
Right.
Which I think also goes back to the fact that her family is deemed cowards from the war. So it's like, yep, proving you're a Harkonnen.
Yeah.
We didn't have Desmond Hart in this episode, which he's been the focus of a lot of other stuff. So he promises to be in the next episode in the trailer. But so the big centerpiece of this was Tula kills off a whole bunch of Atreides.
Yes.
And feels terrible about it. And so that it was effective. It was an effective, setup and payoff. So
and it didn't feel like something that I would have said about her before this episode.
Right.
She can make the hard choices.
Yeah, and she's in it with her sister in some ways. You can see why she went and joined the Sisterhood.
Guilty by association. As well. Yeah.
We will be back talking about episode 4 of 6.
Yeah.
So come on back for that. Thank you as always, Paul. Appreciate it, good sir.
No problem.
And we'll talk to everybody next time.
Bye.
Bye.